call that radio. You call that radio TV. You call that radio TV.
This is You Call That Radio.
This is You Call That Radio TV. Tonight we're joined by Kunt The Gang, aka the Kunts, to discuss how almost got a Christmas number one, technically did get a Christmas number one, the People's Christmas number one, with Boris Johnson as a fucking cunt. That's your heads up, by the way, that there may be some strong language on this show. If you watch this show with your kids, I don't think many people do, but just a wee heads up, there may be some language. Not that there probably usually is anyway, but I think I'm quite confident that there might be some bad language in this one. Shout outs to the gaffer, Nigel Clark for Dodgy last night. After the show, go and watch that one back. Go and watch the Mary Kiani one back as well. Rave Icon was on the show earlier on, and we had a really good chat with Tragigara and El Mugged this week as well. So it's been a great week. Dope Sick Flies on tomorrow, live from Capture Works. So tune in for that one as well. And it's a busy couple of weeks ahead, and You Call That Radio. So yeah, let's do it. I should be able to go live now to Kunt. Is that should I call you Kunt?
Please do, yeah.
Is it Mr. Kunt, or?
If you want to be polite, perhaps do Mr. Cunt for the first couple of minutes, and then we can become more formal, more informal afterwards. No, fine. Call me Cunt. That's fine. Okay.
We'll start, Mr. Kunt. And well, obviously, I remember your tunes from years and years ago. Maybe the MySpace era. Is that right? It's been a while you've been doing this for.
Yeah. I was sort of quite early on board with MySpace, I think, and yeah. So what was that, like 2005-ish?
Yeah, well, I think by the time I got caught up, because I was a few years behind. I'm always a few years behind the world, so I think it was about 2007, 2008. So by that point, you'd probably already fairly established yourself on MySpace.
Yeah. By that time, it was kind of up and running on MySpace.
Yeah.
That was the weird thing about it, is you kind of put all this time and effort into getting MySpace up and running. Then one day it felt like this massive kind of vibrant community, and the next day it was just you and the spam bots, and everyone had fucked off to Facebook.
Yeah, I remember that, man. It was actually I moved house, so I didn't have internet for a few months, and I'd worked really hard building my little MySpace community. And then a few months went away. So actually, I was over a few period of a few weeks, a few months before I logged back in again. And the difference was devastating, man. It was just like everyone had gone, and it was like all that effort for absolutely nothing. And then, Facebook's not really a community for music either. And I suppose YouTube, maybe filled in a little bit, but it's not quite the same. I mean, we could probably be doing with a MySpace these days.
Yeah, I mean, MySpace, it was just good MySpace. It felt really user-friendly, and, and it felt, I mean, for me, it was brilliant, because it's how I first got things out there, and, and got people to find out about us. And, you had your little profile with a few songs on and your little description. And
your top friends.
Yeah,
so
your top 8 friends.
Your wee gang. You could have a wee gang.
Yeah, there was all little there. Yeah, you could have a gang, because Gary Glitter was on there, Jimmy Savile, like all the serial killers were on there. But then obviously, the kind of internet's changed a bit since then, and he's a bit more policed.
Well, I think when MySpace came along, I think what happened was, I might be right in saying that Rupert Murdoch bought it over, and then like new money guys came in and tried to sort of upgrade it, and they just made it, because it was user friendly. It was actually quite shit, but it worked. Then they tried to sort of make it more modern, then it just kind of sort of lost its way a bit.
As I understand, what happened was they changed all the interfaces, and it just became really user friendly, just as everything was kind of changing over to people having Facebook on your phone. Because when you had MySpace, you'd do all your stuff on your computer, on your PC, and then Facebook kind of got on board with the mobile handset thing first, and I think just left MySpace behind.
We've got some people who's tuned in tonight. We've got Petra is tuned in. Chile the Night Troops. Alan says, looking forward to this tonight. Glenn says, representing Kunt Corona's club from sunny Essex.
Hey.
Shouts to Essex. Ali Grant says, greetings, crew. Raymond Dito's in the house. Evening, guys. Lou is in the house as well. And yeah, man, it was just quite mad to see how big your Christmas number one. So first of all, is it right? Were you actually technically Christmas number one the day before the Christmas number one?
Nah,
or something like that?
I kind of think the sausage roll song had it sewn up from the start, really, and we didn't sort of realise that until when they wheeled out Ronan Keating, and you're just like, do you know what? You can't actually fucking compete against when they wheel out someone who's done stadium tours and all that, you know. And obviously it was for a good cause as well, and lots of people were buying it to support the food banks. So we were never going to get ahead of the sausage roll ones, but it was fun for a few days thinking that you might do. But as it turned out, you know, we were quite a few thousand sales behind the sausage roll ones. But you know, for something that had no major label, no promotional budget, you know, really just like a small kind of community fan base, for something to get out like that, like it did, you know, was pretty amazing.
And how much? I mean, obviously for Christmas singles, there usually quite a lot of, you know, like a 2-month lead-in time. When did you decide that? Well, when did you write the song, and when did you decide maybe this has the potential to be a Christmas classic?
Well, the song was written. I think it was just after. It was around the time of the first lockdown, but I just want to dispel the myth that Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt was written because he put us in lockdown, because he was a fucking cunt long before that. He didn't just start to become a fucking cunt when he locked us down. You know, he has a long track record of being a fucking cunt. Has
Boris Johnson ever not been a cunt?
I mean, he's always been a cunt to my knowledge, but then I didn't know him when he was a kid. But you can imagine he was a cunt when he was a kid. You can imagine the minute he burst out of his mum's flaps, you know, he was a fucking cunt, even as a little baby. The minute they cut that cord, he was a cunt.
And there's about how many different versions of it? So, because I noticed that today, I just had a quick glance. I've not really been. You're doing a streaming version. You're streaming it or something like that. What's going on with that?
Well, I tell you what it is. So we did kind of like half a dozen different versions of it, because obviously, like when you do the different versions, the sales all get combined for the main chart. So at one point we had numbers. I think it was 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the Amazon top 10. You know, and a couple kind of representing in the iTunes chart as well. And then at the end of the week, all those separate versions get combined for the main chart. You know, so I can't remember the fucking question. Sorry, I'm very sketchy.
Yeah, aye. So if you make about 20 versions, then that means people can put it on a playlist and listen to all the different versions, which means you've got I mean, it'll make a big difference, because obviously if someone likes the song, they listen to it once. In Spotify terms, that's not a lot. That's nothing much is going to happen with that. But if you make 20 versions of the song, then people might listen to it 20 times, or put it on and leave the house.
Yeah,
because what's the rule? They've got to have the volume on though for it to work.
Yeah, you've got to have the volume above mute for it to work. But we kind of worked all these shenanigans out as the week went on. We didn't this weren't a grand kind of master plan at the start of the week. It was only kind of something that we worked out as we went on. So in hindsight, if I was doing it again, you'd kind of have everything ready for the start. I mean, this is what we're trying to do this week, is just do like a 24/7 streamathon where people stream it all week for 7 days just to see what happens and whether that has any effect on the charts or what it does.
So you think it could maybe go back into the charts this week, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard something in the last couple of days that slightly worried me, is that the charts apparently put a cap on the amount of listens that one user can have every day. So they'll cap it for the final count up at the weekend. So although, like, on Spotify, throughout that week before Christmas, we had 6 million listens across the various versions, which was much more than any of the other kind of contenders in the chart. But I think we had a smaller amount of people listening to it more times. So maybe like some of them versions didn't get counted for the charts.
Bastards.
Oh no.
Bastards. You know what I mean? They make a system, you try to figure it out, and then they change the rules. What we're going to do just now is sorry, man, just to pause you. Sorry, just pause you there, man, because I've just realised it's past 10 minutes, and this is time for everyone to get the bus to YouTube. We've got people tuned in on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter and stuff like that. If you want to watch this the show, you need to go to YouTube. So get the bus to YouTube and join us for the rest of to watch the rest of the show.
It's gonna be streaming live. You call that radio. More like a TV show. On almost every night. It's gonna be streaming live. You call that
If you don't really know what's going on, there's a show that also doesn't know what's going on. Call that radio TV. You call that radio. Call that radio TV. You call that radio TV.
And that's it. That was hold on. Done. We're now on YouTube. So, well, I was going to say get the bus to YouTube, but if you're here, you're already here. You're on YouTube. See, because that's it. It's just the same, Mr. Kunt. We're talking about gaming the system. Are you there, man? We may have lost Mr. Kunt. Oh, we've got two Kunts. We've got we've got two Kunts. I'll remove the other Kunt. Take the Kunt out. Yeah, man, but just similar to the sort of, this is the try to figure out a way, and obviously we can simultaneously stream to all these different platforms. But I think it's good just to have everyone in the same place. So what we're doing is we start the show on about 5 or 6 platforms, and then we just go, right, get the bus to YouTube, and then watch it all there. Because it's just better to have everyone in the same place, the same chat, and stuff like that. So that's how we're trying to figure out the system. But I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. We'll find out, man. Yeah, it was so like I said, man, I first seen that you were starting to roll the single out. It was actually Becky Fury who says that she's seen you playing a Spoonful of Poison and said you were a good cunt.
Oh, right, that must have been a fucking long while ago, yeah.
And what is the live setup? How do you perform your songs live?
Well, back in the day when I was gigging, it was just literally me and an MP3 player, and then I'd have my little bag of tricks with little Kunt and me kazoo and what have you in, and I had a guitar for a little while that someone spilt a pint on, and that got fucked. But yeah, just really me and a holdall full of stuff and a suitcase full of merch, just kind of driving me full fiesta around the country. And then more recently, sort of got the band together, the Kunts. We rehearsed for kind of 6 months to record the album, and we were just about to start sorting some gigs out, and then lockdown happened. And so, yeah, and here we are from there.
Well, I'm sure that you're going to have a lot more fans post-lockdown than you would have pre-lockdown with it. But what's the reaction been like to people that are supporting the single and then they're going back and checking out your back catalogue? Because it's fair to say it's an acquired taste that's not for everyone. So have you had any strange reactions from people that maybe enjoyed the Christmas single, but then they're going back and seeing what else you've done?
No, mostly the new people that have got on board have been sort of surprised that it's gone on for so long without them finding out about it. But I didn't really do any kind of press or promotion sort of for the last 5 years of it. So it was just word of mouth. So if one of your mates told you about it, you'd find out about it. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have.
How did the media react to the song? Because did they just ignore you? Or, because I can just imagine, did the Daily Mail not pick up on it? Disgraceful, bad language,
I mean, to be honest, like, it kind of felt like they really wanted to ignore it. But then once things started gathering momentum and it kind of looked like it was going to be a thing, and it looked like there was a chance for Christmas #1, they were sort of forced into reporting it. And mostly it was kind of quite positive, and even the Daily Mail wrote quite a nice positive piece about it. And then the Express, I think, had a headline, Furious vile song about the Prime Minister, just to try and roll people up. But and there was a few kind of angry gammons on the message boards. But when people get angry about things, it just sort of makes it funnier and more pleasing for the other people. So, it just, the more people that get angry about it, the sort of more it works, as promotion. So I think that kind of helped it.
Vile. I mean, that's great. You can put that on the wee stickers on front of your CDs. Vile. Daily Express. That's not bad.
Yeah, them kind of quotes are always as pleasing as the nice ones, aren't they?
Yeah, especially if it's coming from the rags like that, man. I noticed that behind you, you've got borisjohnson.info. Can you tell us a bit about that?
borisjohnson.info is the website where you can find out all the details. That was the website I kind of set up before the Top 40 campaign at Christmas. And it's just got all the details about what to do to stream the song and where to find the playlists and what to do in.
Yeah, there it is there. It's borisjohnson.info. Yeah, man, that's mental. So you just type in borisjohnson.info and you'll find out how to stream the song and how to upset Daily Express readers. And yeah, man. So with the reaction, did the Daily Express or the Daily Mail not pick up on your back catalogue? Because if they think that calling a cunt is bad, then I thought they would have maybe found something else to get upset about in that back catalogue.
No, do you know what though? I kind of think I sort of think they didn't really want to write about it anyway, so they didn't go digging. But I was just kind of sat there like this, just for any minute they were going to find the Paperboy song. But at the end of the day, no. I just sort of think they didn't really want to give it any promotion in the first place. So the best thing was to just report it and then ignore it after that. Because once it got into the charts at #5, in my mind, any other time, if you had a one-hit wonder that came from nowhere and no one knew what it was, that would have been a big story. And, people would want to find out more about it and behind it, especially if it was an act that had been going for 20 years, with like relatively little success. It would have been an interesting story. But I think because it was called Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt, and and the name of the band was called the Kunts and Kunt Gang, there was just too much cuntiness for the mainstream media, I think.
What do you think? Obviously, #5 in the charts have finished or something. So that means that you know that Boris Johnson's been made aware of this somehow. Boris Johnson will be aware of the song. Do you think he was just sitting there going, fuck, this better not be, especially the year 2020, because obviously we are living through an important part of history. 10, 20, 50 years from now, people will be, in fact, maybe, hundreds of years from now, perhaps, because we've built with all this digital stuff to look through rather than in the old days, there wasn't as much as that. So we'll be looking back on that and it'll be a big thing. What was Christmas #1 in 2020? It'll be a classic pub question pub quiz question as well. You know, what was number one in Christmas 2020? Do you think there's any possibility, any weight to the conspiracy theory that Boris and his chums just started buying other singles to stop the embarrassment of that? Could that be a real conspiracy theory?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely fucking shenanigans go on. In the first, so 2 days into the week before it, when we were kind of giving it a big promotional push, Vimeo, that was hosting my the video of the Boris Johnson song, my Vimeo account just got shut down. No warnings, no strikes, just shut down. And last time I done one of these campaigns with my royal wedding version of Fuck Sticks, my Facebook got hacked, YouTube got closed down, and then one of the versions registered with no sales. There's definitely fucking shenanigans go on with these things, but because they kind of go under the radar until the last minute, you kind of imagine they're all just kind of scrabbling around, just trying to do something at the last minute rather than being able to shut it down at an early stage.
Because I mean, how would the BBC even report that? Or like Top of the Pops? What would they say? Because I know that obviously they couldn't. We know that they wouldn't play the song. So would they have to just sort of put NA, not applicable, or?
This is why I always in the top 40, just to see how they deal with it on the chart countdown. And this time they just kind of said at number 5, there's a song about Boris Johnson that's got so many bad words we can't play it on daytime radio. They really kind of skirted over it. And because they used exactly the same phrase when they announced it in the midweek chart, when it was number 19 and kind of still going up, you know there's a memo gone around somewhere, or at least an email from someone higher up than the presenter saying, and this is how you deal with it. But there was on the BBC News website, there was nothing about it, and they just kind of kept promoting the Sausage Roll song. You know, I think, you know, just to kind of stop the idea of it kind of, you know, of it being a thing.
Yeah, I mean, they don't, because I suppose even for the BBC's presenters' point of view, they don't want to have to look in at the camera and say there's a song, you know, the Christmas number 1 is a song about Boris Johnson that's got too many bad words. Because when it gets to the point it's Christmas number 1, then everybody's going to be Googling that and finding out what that is. We've got Alan Rodison tuned in to saying, I was listening to a Lonely Wank in a Travel Lodge earlier, a classic. It's a classic. Dysart Media's in the house. We've got the Sutherlands are in the house as well. We've got Colette Nichol tuned in also. And with regards to censorship, man, because I think you definitely push the boundaries of taste and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Is there anything that is there anywhere you won't go with, or have you ever maybe wrote something and then maybe regretted it looking back, or how do you feel about that?
I don't really think I've regretted anything, because you kind of go through this process of self-censorship in your head before you kind of do anything. And
so this is already any of your back catalogue. It's already went through a vetting process that this is fine.
At some point, well, I mean, you know, that kind of just that mental vetting process of you know,
fuck it, we just fuck it.
I mean, obviously, like there's stuff that you think and you write down and you think, I could never say that out loud, because even if you were saying it coming from a jokey perspective, you're just not going to get away with it. You know, you're going to end up getting lynched. But what I try and do is those ones, find an angle. So probably an example of this is the Ian Watkins song, The Wrong Ian Watkins, about the guy from The Lost Prophets. I sort of had in mind about doing a song about him, and I had lots of people saying, come on, cunt, where's your Ian Watkins song? And you just think, this bloke's tried to rape a baby. Is there, you know, can you find anything funny about that? And then, you know, through kind of thinking about it, you find an angle that works, which is not the bit about him raping the baby. It's about the guy from Steps having the same name as him and getting mixed up and getting all this hate mail on the internet. And you kind of find the funny bit, you know, through just kind of processing it in your mind.
Yeah, H from Steps. That's
and he spent years, didn't he? H from Steps going, don't call me H anymore. I don't want to be called H anymore. I want to be called Ian Watkins.
Yeah,
and then like that overnight,
then that happens.
Call me H again.
Has anyone ever, like, have you ever heard anything from H, or is any of the celebrities mentioned in your tunes ever reacted, retweeted you even, or commented, or got in touch about it?
No, until this latest this thing before Christmas, I'd probably had no. I think I'd had no celebrity endorsements at all, apart from Stuart Lee and Charlie Brooker one time wrote something about me that I kind of, in about 2006, and I used that quote on my posters for like 10 years. But
well, it's good though. It is. Charlie Brooker and Stuart Lee, you got it. They're keepers.
Oh mate, I'll fucking quit while I'm ahead there. Do you know what I mean? I don't want anyone else. But no one's kind of endorsed us or tried to get in on the joke or anything.
I think it's just best for a celebrity just to ignore it.
I think this is the thing, and I think this is kind of what happened. Once the Boris Johnson song got into the top 5, the media just kind of collectively ignored it, and it went away.
Well, we had a song called Jeremy Kyle Fucked My Wife, and that definitely was because people were tagging Jeremy Kyle in that all the time. So know somewhere, or the ITV bosses, somewhere along the line, someone it will have got to him. But what do you do with that? I mean, you can't even sue like a skint musician for that. It's best to just ignore it and get on with your day, really.
But especially as it was factually accurate because he did fuck people's lives. And the same with the Boris Johnson one. If you ended up in court against him, you'd just pull out all the times he's been a fucking cunt. And I
can scientifically prove, I can legally prove that this man is a cunt, Your Honour. And the judges
the CPS had laughed that out of court before it even got there.
Yeah. So it's what's the plan for it? I mean, obviously it's really hard to have plans, but you've got a ban now. So when lockdown comes, restrictions are lifted. Take the show on the road.
Well, yeah, that was the plan before lockdown started, but then here we are, like a year later, near enough. And I don't know. I mean, can you see there being gigs in the next? There's definitely not going to be gigs in the next few months, and then you're kind of thinking, well, by the time we get out of this lockdown, it's going to be fucking Easter or something, and so then when you're sorting gigs out for, like, are the summer's gigs going to happen? I just don't know.
Well, just obviously today we just heard about Glastonbury being cancelled, but I mean, I think that was always going to happen. Glastonbury's huge.
Yeah.
I'm still going to keep hope for maybe, smaller gigs and stuff. I just think the stadium gig and your Glastonburys and your massive festivals, I've got no chance at this stage. But yeah, hopefully, I can see there being a lot of maybe outdoor, socially distanced people in deck chairs, people playing acoustic guitars or DJing outside and stuff like that. I can see a lot of that kind of thing happening, and maybe some smaller gigs. But I mean, it's just about, if people are supposed to socially distance in a venue, then is it going to be economically viable to hire out a big venue if you can only put X amount of people inside it and stuff like that? But I think there will be live music. I just don't think it's going to be it's not going to be back to the stage we like until, hopefully outdoor stuff in the summer, but maybe September. But I mean, that's at best, isn't it, really, right now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm struggling to see how it's going, and I don't want to be a harbinger of doom, but I'm struggling to see how it's going to work in terms of, like, so the venues I played before I kind of packed up gigging in 2016, they were kind of between, 100 to 150 capacity up to about 400. And so if you somewhere like the 13th Note in Glasgow, where you can kind of barely squeeze 100 people in, to have a socially distanced gig there, what are you going to get in terms of audience? Like 25?
Yeah.
So how do you make that viable for the venue, for the band?
Yeah, 20. That's 25 if there's 4 people in a social bubble or whatever that are together, So, and I just don't. I mean, I think the problem is as well is it's just, how do you even police something like that? Because then are you just expecting everyone to keep their distance and just give them the rule, right? You've got to keep 2 meters apart and hope to stick to it. But as soon as, the live guitars and the drums kick in, then, I mean, and a few pints down their neck, then all common sense goes out the window. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, man. I'm trying to just kind of in the middle as well. I'm not trying to get too optimistic or too pessimistic on it. You've just got to kind of sort of take it each day as it comes and then hope for the best, man. All I do know is I'm excited that it will happen again. And
Yeah.
and it's going to be electric when it does. I think we've taken a lot of things for granted, and I can't wait for that stuff to come back. I actually watched a video of you performing in the smallest pub in the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so that was
How would they do a socially distanced gig?
yeah. I mean, they'd end up with just the bar staff if they did a socially distanced gig. So yeah, that was just there was a couple of people came to see us at a gig in Cambridge and said, our mate wants to put you on. You run was it the smallest pub in England or the smallest pub in the world? I don't know. Like there's
It's called Britain's smallest pub. I'll bring it on the screen just while you're talking about it. I won't put any volume on it, but just so people can see what it is you're talking about here.
But yeah, it was called the Nutshell in Bury St Edmunds, and it was fucking tiny. And so I did two shows. Like did one, and then everyone went out.
So is that the end? Is that where it stops? For the cameras?
Yeah, where the camera is, that's Mike. He stood up on a bench at the back of the place.
Wait, it's got four bartenders. Is that bartenders?
It looks even. No, I think they're punters, but they had to go behind the bar because there was no more room in the pub there. But yeah, I mean that makes it look bigger than it actually was.
Did they charge how much did they charge for a pint?
45 quid. They had to make ends meet. I dread to think how dear the shots are going to be in there when they go socially distanced.
Yeah, that's mental, man. So that's so the small. It looks fun though. I want to go to the Britain's smallest pub.
Yeah, it was. Fucking brilliant.
How do you even get do the Guinness Book of Records go about measuring pubs, or when you think you've got yourself a small pub, you just give them a wee ring?
I think there must be some kind of committee who deal with the smallness of pubs. But what I'd do if I had a small pub, when the people were coming down, I'd just fill it with about 4 really fat cunts, just really fucking big old lumps. And so when they got the tape measures out, it seemed smaller than it actually was.
Well, Boris Johnson is a cunt, but I noticed that is he the number one cunt? Obviously, it is right now because he's prime minister. But is there any other politicians, if they were in their prime and they were still about, is there anyone that you'd put above Boris? I know that I know that you had a hatred for Nick Clegg that I shared as well. It was just something really frustratingly and annoying about Nick Clegg. His face, just his face. Nick Clegg's face was.
It wasn't even hatred for Nick Clegg. It was just utter fucking disappointment that for 2 minutes you thought, oh, he seems a bit different. And then, oh, no, he's just one of those cunts. But, no, I struggle to think of anyone that I actually fucking like. I mean, this is the trouble with the system is you've got Labour and you've got the Conservatives. And whenever anyone else looks like they're going to get in, one of them says, well, but if you vote for them, it's just a vote for the other ones. And so you just end up picking who's the least biggest cunt out of Labour or the Conservatives every time. And, the ultimate thing
and Labour's latest cunt, he's not fucking what? Keir, Sir Starmer. He's a cunt, man. I can't see any redeeming qualities to him.
No, he's like Tony Blair light, and he's just got he's like Tony Blair without any of the charisma, and and he's already a sir, so
like a car salesman that's not hit his target for 2 months and he's on his way out if he doesn't get that one more sale. He needs that sale to keep his job. Nigel Farage is up there, says Kyle. Yeah, I think, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about Farage it's always bizarre is that he never seems to actually get voted in for anything. But yet Question Time will give him, a platform every other week and somehow give an importance to what he's going to say. Never understood the whole, you know, like man, like because he's got a pint, he's like a normal human being because he'll have a pint. And I don't know. I mean, people up here don't really fall for that, but I know that the media down south loves him, and I'm assuming that there's lots of people that love him as well.
We in Essex fall for Nigel Farage left, right, and centre. It just, you know, it's because he's that fucking pint. It's because you desperately want to relate to someone, you know. So none of the politicians are relatable, are they? So you get someone. Oh, hold on, he has a fag and he drinks a pint in a pub. He must be more like us. But no, he's a rich fucking banker, but he just kind of happens to have a pint. But he's box office, isn't he, Nigel Farage? Like, he's the politician Tyson Fury. People like him because he stirs it up a bit and says interesting things. But he's a fucking
Donald Trump. I mean, it's the same idea as Donald Trump as well, because millions of people think that he's somehow anti-system. But I mean, he's just an old, rich, white billionaire cunt. But yet, people think he's a plucky underdog. I mean, his fans, even when he was the president of the United States, still treated Donald Trump like a plucky underdog, man of the people.
But that's how he sells them that siege mentality, you know, and kind of coming off a big TV show like he did. I can completely see that happening over here. Someone like fucking Piers Morgan, like if Piers Morgan stood for Prime Minister, he'd get it, because, you know, he just tells people what they want to hear, and people go, I've had my views affirmed, I'd vote for you.
Yeah, so if you say something, it's almost like you can trust him because he says what he thinks. When, you know, but all he needs to do is say something slightly controversial that many people would be scared to say. But it's interesting, Piers Morgan, the way he's kind of changed what he does. I mean, I've got absolutely no trust for that guy whatsoever. And it's almost like, you know, he helped destroy the Corbyn. He destroyed Corbyn. He bigged up the Tories all the way in the lead up to the election. And then the Tories got in. Now he's kind of like, it's almost like he doesn't want history to look back on him as being a Tory enabler. So now he's fighting against the system when there's nothing to fight for, really. Yeah,
he's a kind of corporate faux agitator. That's what he is.
Snaky, probably the snake. So yeah, he could easily be voted in, because I think we actually, you know, we sort of look at America and think, oh, that would never happen here. But when you look at Boris, there is so many similarities there as well. I mean, Boris, had it not been for his numerous TV appearances, there's no way that he would be in the position he is. But people went, oh, there's that bloke from, you know, what was he was on again?
Yeah, have I got news?
Have I got news for you? Have I got news for you? And he would always just, not just that though, he would always just pop up and stuff. You know, I think he was on Ali G or whatever people were doing. He would just be one of those guys that would just appear. So it just kind of everyone sort of thought, wait, so yeah, have you got a version of Donald Trump as a fucking cunt that just came out as well? Is that correct?
Yeah, that predated the Boris one. Just before we kind of put the punk album out, and then the Boris one was the one that went on the album. But I've just released that Donald one, which kind of counts towards the Boris streams and Boris sales.
So how many versions of this song is there now?
It's upwards of a dozen. So I've done 6 new ones to coincide with this week. So there's Donald Trump is a fucking cunt. Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, who there's loads of fucking shenanigans going on. I mean, it's worse than shenanigans, isn't it? In China, we've kind of put in
shenanigans
in fucking concentration camps, and, you know, and taking away people's human rights in Hong Kong while coronavirus is going on. It's really fucking dodgy stuff. So I went on Google Translate and worked out how to say he's a fucking cunt in Chinese. So that's my first ever Chinese release, that one.
Oh, well, that you're certainly not getting the mainstream radio over there with that. We've got a couple of our regular guests, Hugh Reid, who's on the show quite often. He lives in China, but he's been back in Scotland since obviously the COVID and all that happened. So he's been quite settled over there. It's quite interesting just talking about the sort of censorship and stuff over there. And I don't think they've got Facebook or even YouTube, I think you've got to use a VPN. You've got to kind of bypass the system to even get that. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see the reaction from Chinese people. I mean, probably it'll be quite dangerous to even have that song or listen to that song. It'll be on some sort of list or whatever. How does it sound? Can we play that version just now?
Yeah.
Does it rhyme?
What's that?
Did you make it rhyme?
Yeah, but the Boris Johnson is a fucking cunt didn't really rhyme in the first place. It just kind of, it's just repeating a phrase over and over again.
Okay, so let's see it. I'm going to see if I can find the Chinese version. So is it? Where is it on the Bandcamp version or is it on?
It's not on Bandcamp. It's on
Spotify. Okay, Spotify. Okay, so. Okay, I'm just looking through this just now. Right, this might the YouTube. Oh, wow, I'm just going to bring up the screen just so you can maybe help me a bit, and just to kind of give people an idea of how many versions there is here.
For you, if you like.
Okay, go for it. Aye, well, then that means I can bring the exclusive banner on. Okay, cool. It's go. Let me get the exclusive banner on. Right. Okay, now we can do it. Mr. Kunt, take it away.
Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan, Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan, Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan, Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan, Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan. Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan. Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan, Xi Hundan. Xi Jinping, Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan, Da Xi Hundan. That's it.
Yes, amazing. Round of applause. We need a. Where's the applause button here? Where's the applause button here?
You call that radio?
Here to tell people that we hear you. One God will not allow.
You call that radio?
However you want to see it.
You call that radio?
You call that radio?
However you want to say it, that's kind of part of the fun.
Powered by our patrons.
Brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters.
We are indeed powered by our Patreons, and if you want to, so this show's not possible without your support. The good news is, by the way, it looks like we're going to have a party live from Capture Works. We're aiming for a special in February. If we can just get a few more Patreons up, because basically what we've got is a live venue with no audience, but it's they've got the technology to actually bring that live vibe to the show. We've done a few this year already. And if we could just get a few more patrons, and we'll do one on February the 20th. It's not quite confirmed yet, but it looks like it might happen. So thank you, patrons, for supporting the show. I have no idea what I'd be doing right now without you guys, so thank you very much. Actually, man, do you think you could say you call that radio as a fucking cunt? Just no music, just so I can snip it for the thing.
Do you want me to say it or do you want me to sing it?
Just sing it. Just sing. You call that radio as a fucking cunt. It's a bit too many syllables, but I think you could.
I'm scan. I'm like the manic street preachers. I can fit any amount of syllables into a sentence.
Okay, go for it.
You call that radio's a fucking cunt. You call that radio's a fucking cunt. A fucking cunt. A fucking cunt.
Yes, amazing. And that's 4436. I'm going to write that in the comments because this is the thing, man. Like, I need to make new ones. As you can see from that wee advert thing, that, or whatever you call it, that came in. is that I don't watch these shows back, man. I can't. It took me years to actually. I don't mind so much listening to my music that I make now. But for the first few years, I don't even like listening to your own voice and music. But now I can kind of deal with that. But after doing these shows almost every day, man, I've done 200 shows since lockdown began. So the idea of that. So after doing a show and then the idea of actually having to watch back or listen to it to find a good bit to make a highlight reel out of it is not. But so 4436, and that's great, man. I'll maybe use that. Thank you. Sarah C was enjoying. This was the Chinese version. Yas says Joe. Round of applause for Kyle and Raymond Ditos enjoying it. Sarah says, sad state of affairs when Piers Morgan is the only person in telly holding the government to account over COVID. He's still a snake, though. He is indeed, and it wouldn't surprise me if he is positioning himself, like you said, to be a politician. And all Piers Morgan is about is TV ratings. Yeah, man. I mean, do you think Prime Minister... I mean, they're bringing out there's a couple of new right-wing news channels starting, which is quite worrying because... the news channels are right-wing as it is without an actual channel coming up with that right-wing brand. But I think Piers is part of one of them. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. But what they tend to have is what they'll do is they'll find something that someone's offended by. You know, you'll get people that are offended by very little, and then they'll blow it up to be a big thing, as if lots of people are offended by something that nobody's really offended by. And then everyone's just woke up. They've just loading up. They're eating their cornflakes and they're seeing Piers Morgan arguing about, you know, things that no one cares about. And people are foaming at the mouth. Someone used the phrase foaming wallopers. You know, it's the foaming gammon wallopers are outraged that you can't do anything anymore. And it works because then people argue on, I mean, that's what it's all about nowadays. It's about ratings. And then getting the engagement online, so people argue in the comments. That's where we're at now, and that's why this right-wing TV news channels are going to be successful, sadly, because people will be commenting against it. But I think the best thing to do is ignore these channels. What do you think?
I mean, the whole idea of having a news channel that's got a political bias, it's not news then, is it? It's just diatribe.
Yeah, it's opinions. And I used to watch Fox News for the crack back in the day. Bill O'Reilly, the O'Reilly Factor, he was hilarious. I thought it was like just funny. But obviously back then it was still quite niche to believe what he believed. But it's just having your opinion, but it looks like a news channel. It sounds like a news channel. So people think that they're watching facts when they're just watching an angry old man yelling at a cloud.
But this is what happens: is people have their views reinforced and kind of fed back to them, and it becomes like a feedback loop. And this is why when you kind of see arguments on message boards now, that's happened so much, is people just engage with the news they agree with. So when you have a discussion, it kind of just goes, you know, the poles have become further apart, and it's become like a massive weakness to the idea of changing your opinion or meeting in the middle with someone and finding a compromise. You know, and that's why, like, you sort of see people online just getting so angry in these kind of discussions in the comments, you know, just in the Facebook comments of something, two people just kind of going at hammer and tongs. But then I suppose in lockdown, what can you do? Because you can't fight in car parks anymore, can you? You'll be picked up by the lockdown police. So message boards are the only place you can have a tear up at the moment.
Yeah, well, I seen there was actually a thing in London. There was a 12-man knife fight where no one was injured. And one of my mates commented that because of social distancing, and that's why there was no... Also, you know, you've got there's a picture of Mike Tyson with a mask. He can't even bite anyone's ears off these days either. Everything's changed. What comedy-wise, man? What kind of? We obviously mentioned Charlie Brooker and Stuart Lee, who have made probably some of the best material over the last 5 years. But is there any other comedians that you go to?
My main thing that I like sitcoms, and you know, I like the young ones and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap and Fawlty Towers and The Office and Nathan Barley.
Nathan Barley, I would like to watch that again now because that was so ahead of the curve, especially in Glasgow, because we didn't have people like that when Nathan Barley came out. I loved it when it came out, but it was just like a different world. And now, you know, a lot of the things that Nathan Barley were sort of poking fun at is the reality for many people. I mean, even the fact that I do a podcast is quite Nathan Barley.
Yeah. I mean, it was so far ahead of the curve. And I only watched it again a couple of weeks ago, and it still feels so fucking current. And it's older than 10 years ago now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I think, yeah, definitely maybe 15 years ago or something like that.
I mean, it's so fucking bang on the money. It's brilliant.
Nathan Barley, let's just find out. Nathan Barley came out in 2005. So, yeah, 15 years ago, man. Incredible stuff. And then what about musician-wise, man? Is there any, what you've been listening to music-wise in the last few years?
I'm stuck in an 80s time warp. Like, I just kind of go round and round and just try and discover new stuff from the 80s that I haven't found yet. So I've been, over the last few years, sort of working my way through the back catalogue of Stan Ridgway, who was the singer in Wall of Voodoo, and sort of collecting his albums and collecting the albums of They Might Be Giants, and found this band called New Music who did the single Living by Numbers. I found their album a couple of years ago, and it's like finding a time capsule from the 80s. You know, when you find new 80s music that you haven't heard before, just these fucking tunes that have been locked there, you know, in a vault. Yeah.
It's weird that the 80s music seems to have aged a lot better than, because I thought in the 90s and the early 2000s, 80s music sound kind of dated. And now it seems to have made a resurgence where it actually seems sort of like ahead of its curve, and it's aged a bit better. Dave, have you found that as well?
I don't know. I wonder whether it's just worn you down. You know, like, you know, Stockholm syndrome, just where you've heard it so much. Like some of those eight.
So if, say for example, it was say for example, it's the restrictions are lifted and you get to put on like a one big show. Where would it be? What's the venue that you miss the most, and who would you book to play alongside the Kunts?
What are we talking about realistically, or just
no? I mean, well, even a gig's not realistic just now. So yeah, just feel free to go with your imagination.
Well, it'd probably be like, if I had a choice out of anyone and any venue, I'd play the Dublin Castle in Camden supporting Madness, but you know, it's never going to happen.
Well, do you know what the thing is though? It's probably it's more likely to see Madness play Dublin Castle than it is to see them play a stadium these days. So you never know. You might get the call from Madness.
No, but the Dublin Castle's another one of them venues where you'd get 15 people in there at kind of arm's length.
Yeah. We nearly played Dublin Castle once, but it was the ticket situation was not going to be very good for us as a band to come down from Glasgow and try and arrange. So that's never happened.
It was a bit of a pay to play.
At one point, yeah.
Where you kind of had to sell a certain amount of tickets to get a gig.
Yeah, and well, what about bad gigs? Have you ever played a gig where your music was not appreciated by everyone in the crowd?
It's funny you should say that. Yeah, I've had some fucking horrendous gigs, like too many to kind of, you know, to go through all of them. But the worst one was fairly early on. Maybe I've been doing it a couple of years, and this guy who was a friend of the drummer Fucksticks, who's in the Kunts with us. He was a friend of Fucksticks. This guy come up and said, I want to book you, and this was at one of my gigs, to play a gentleman's evening in Canvey Island. And like all the alarm bells went off, and you're like, I don't know. And he said, I'll give you £100, which was like double what I'd made from a gig at that time. And so I agreed to do it. So I turned up to this gentleman's evening on Canvey Island, and it was at this like proper cheesy nightclub called The Stairs. And they had like a bar upstairs and like a pub downstairs. So bar upstairs and club downstairs, and kind of went in the club, and there was me, a blue comedian, and some strippers, and the strippers just didn't show up, and it was just late, getting later and later and later, and eventually at kind of about 9:30, they opened the doors, and just all these blokes coming, and they were pissed out of their fucking heads, and the strippers were kind of like still on the way, but all these blokes just wanted to see a pair of ladies knockers. They didn't want to see me kind of dancing around with me fake cock and hand puppet, and so I kind of got about one song in and they were all just throwing fag packets and plastic glasses at me, just going like, fuck off, sort your fucking barnet out, sort your trousers out and all this. And it got really like lively. I was thought, do you know what? I just fucking don't need this. So I just said, Jews all want me to fuck off. And to a man, everyone in there just went, yes. So I was, well, right, see you later, and walked off the stage. And then I was just getting myself changed, and the promoter come round and went, what the fucking hell are you doing? And I went, mate, you saw it out there. I was just about to get lynched. He went, get back out on stage or you ain't getting paid. So I said, you can stick it up your arse, mate. I'm not fucking going back out there. No,
Did you get anything off him? Did you get anything?
I think he offered us like a tenner or something to cover me petrol. I told him to poke it up his arse.
Lee Boyce says, played Dublin Castle in a 10-piece band. I think 8 folks showed up. See, that's the thing. It's that going to that London, because we played London. I think we played 4 gigs in 5 days, and at the time it was quite early on in our band, and it felt like we'd made it by getting these London gigs. But obviously, same idea. Like, you know, I don't think, you know, a handful of people turned up to see us, and well, I think most of them turned up to the Brixton gig, which actually turned out quite well. It was just we're on a bill with other bands that were quite similar to us, so it actually worked out. That was a good Halloween party. But the other gigs were, you know, they were pretty not well attended, and we were also very wasted as well, because we were just, you know, young Glasgow boys on holiday, and so yeah, it wasn't the game changer that we thought it might be.
All them London gigs, your Dublin Castle and your Bull and Gate, like a lot of times they had band lineups of 4 bands that had nothing in common with each other. So you'd kind of get like, you know, half a dozen fans from each band who would watch their mate's band and then just all fuck off out to the bar while the other bands were on. And I remember seeing this band at the Dublin Castle, and there must have been half a dozen of us in the audience. And then after each song, they thanked everyone individually.
I've got to just bring this up on the screen just now for people who want to. What is it? A streamioke? What is it you're doing? What is the phrase you've come up with?
Oh, you put the 2 wrong words together. You put together stream and karaoke. It's stream and a thon. It's a
streamathon. It's a streamathon.
Streamathon. Yes, it's another kind of unlikely made up thing. So the idea is that from midnight tonight, we all stream the Boris Johnson song for 7 days for 24 hours and just sort of see what happens. Because mathematically, if you stream it for 7 days for 24 hours with 100 people, you've got enough streams to get it in the charts. But I don't know whether the charts cap the amount of streams per person. But there's a few hundred people kind of up for doing it. So, you know, I figured just do it and see what happens.
It's a good idea, man. I remember there was a band who did a thing, or what they called it, a really good funk band. I think Lee will probably know who they are. But they actually managed, they're the reason that the caps came into place, because they got everyone to just stream this album over and over again. And they made enough money to do a world tour off the back of it. And they're now very successful. It's doing my nutting, I can't remember the name. An amazing funk band. I actually seen them, kind of hipstery, but very fun. And I went and seen them at the Academy. At ABC a couple of years ago. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? I don't know. But go to borisjohnson.info to support the show. And when you're saying the French album, so you've done it in Chinese, you've done it in French?
Yeah, this was like before I packed up gigging in 2016, that this young French guy came along to a couple of me gigs, and he translated a load of my songs into French. And I did French at school, so I'm no fucking expert by any means, you know, it's sort of been several years ago, but looking at these lyrics and working them out through Google Translate, they were fucking fantastic. And he translated all the cultural reference points as well to kind of French serial killers. And it just, it blew me away. So, you know, I think I've just got to make the effort to record these, you know, because all the backing tracks are there. So it's just a case of learning the words almost Jackie Chan style, and recording the album. So I had sort of half an idea, you know, of how to do it, and just did it.
Amazing stuff. That's also available on Spotify. So is there any hard copies going of your stuff just now, or is streaming the best way to support what you do? Obviously, you've got loads of YouTube videos, like hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, the best way, if you want any of my gear and you want to put some coinage in my pocket, is to just go to my website, katg.co.uk, and all the CDs are available there. As hard copies, and every time you buy one of them, that ends up with a $5 straight in my pocket. But all the music's up there on Spotify and and on Amazon and iTunes and all the normal places.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much for your time tonight. We've done an hour, and that's amazing. I think we got Wolfpack. That was the band. I knew Lee would get that. Never heard of them though. Googled it. Right, okay. Good old Google. Yeah, Wolfpack. They absolutely scammed Spotify, and that's why Spotify brought in the new rules. So the smart bastards that ruined it for everyone else, and that's why there's a cap.
They must have had a big fucking fan base to be able to retire off the money Spotify pay you per play.
Well, I mean, not retire. It was enough to. I think it was enough because there was no cap. I think that I think back then they maybe had about 2,000 fans that just really wanted to go. That situation that happens to many bands online, where it's like you've got enough fans, but you couldn't tour to go. You can't go to Germany to play to 6 people and it will pay for itself. So if you get all 2,000 fans just to stream your album 24/7, then, and I think what the trick that they did was I think it was an album of silence. It was pretty much silent. So if you played it, you didn't really hear anything. And I think each song was about 7 seconds long, which is the minimum it takes to be classed as a song. No, 30 seconds, I think it was. So it was the shortest album they could possibly make. There was hardly any sound. So it was kind of designed so that you could play it in the background. I think it was maybe called While You Sleep. So you could play it while you sleep or something like that. So they figured out a way to do it. Everybody done it. And then they went on a big tour, and now they're a big deal now. They don't need to scam Spotify because they're making that money. So yeah, Wolfpack is the one you want to check out for that. But thank you very much, Mr. Kunt. Great to speak to you. All the best for the streamathon. And
thanks very much, mate. Thanks for having us.
All the best, man. See you later. That was Kunt from Kunt The Gang and the Kunts. Go to borisjohnson.info for more information on the streamathon and the rest of the stuff. We're back tomorrow night for the Dope Sick Fly live thing. So where is it? I've got a wee flyer for it somewhere. Where is it? It's here. Dope Sick Fly live from Capture Works. Now, it's going to be a brilliant show. Do that. Hold on. And I've got another one as well. Then on Saturday night, we've got Rebecca Radical's live stream. Hold on. I've not actually got the flyer for that yet. But Dope Sick Fly, by the way, that was one of my highlights of one of the best live things I've seen during lockdown. So it's great to have them. Pour yourself a glass of wine and or grab a beer or grab a cup of green tea. Do what you want. But Dope Sick Fly, so smooth. Smoothest about. And I'm just going to bring up the poster for Rebecca Radical here as well. So on Saturday night, we're doing I don't exactly know how it's going. I'm going to be here hosting it, but someone else is in charge. Rebecca Radical, young punk, does amazing stuff, fashion-wise and music-wise. So she's booked all the bands. I've had nothing to do with it. She's booked Hugh Vivian, Rich Gulag, the Cairngorms Young Team, Rebecca Radical herself, Keith Peace, Lasagna Hands, Quirk, and our very own Joe Dart will be doing a techno DJ set at the end of it. So that's from 7 o'clock on Saturday night. We'll be here. And there's a lot of the acts there that I don't recognise, so I'm looking forward to hearing some new music myself. On Sunday, we have a Burns Supper message from Chris Beattie. It's recorded live from Carlton Studios, who we're trying to save. Carlton Studios, one of the best studios in Glasgow. So we got a documentary coming out on You Call That Radio TV very soon. So it's my first attempt at trying to go somewhere else and make a little documentary. I'm going to be trying to do more of that this year. So I get out the house. So that's on Sunday night at midnight. So as soon as Burns night starts, at 1 minute past 12, you can see Chris Beattie starting it. And please share it round so that the Mighty Sparrowhawk gets his the views he deserves, and so that Carlton Studios get a bit more hype for their crowdfunder, because we need to save Carlton Studios. Monday's Burns night itself, so I'm taking the day off because there's so much stuff on that I'm not competing with. We'll be doing our own Burns supper night on next Saturday the 30th, celebrating 10 years of our alternative Burns supper. There's going to be poets, comedians, rappers, just a nice big mix of different stuff going on. And we're going to try and do haggis delivery if you're in the Glasgow or surrounding areas, where if you're keen for it, then we're going to get haggis, nips and tatties, and we're going to try and get a door-to-door piper. So a guy's going to come down and pipe your haggis to your door. If we can make that work, we will. And the next real chat show coming up is Paul McCall, who has been in Limmy's show, High Times, Still Game, Rabsy Nesbitt, Taggart, Alt Rebus. Absolute legend, very funny guy, man. So I'm absolutely buzzing to get him on the show. And yeah, that was quality, man, says Adam. Thank you, Adam. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in. If you've enjoyed these shows, if you're enjoying any of these shows, then please do consider making a PayPal donation or signing up to the Patreon. It's a couple of £1 a month, and you'll get into the big mad raffle and win some prizes and get some discounts on your haggis delivery service. It's not possible without you. We need to get a few more so that I can actually financially risk a big gig on February live from Capture Works. So let's make it happen if we can, people. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow night for Dope Sick Fly at 7 o'clock. If you haven't seen it yet, then go and check out the other shows this week. We've already spoke to Nigel Clark, the lead singer from Dodgy, rave icon Mary Kiani, and it was a really good one about how to get 1,000 fans in a year for Tragic O'Hara and El Mugged. Thank you very much, guys. I will see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Stay safe. And remember that Boris Johnson is indeed a fucking cunt, and you can prove it in law.
You call that radio?
Call that radio.
Back to the people who hated on me.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant that knocks it out in a minute.
That's mad, isn't it?
Is this a Netflix thing?
It's actually a podcast.
What the fuck's a podcast?
You know, it's kind of like a radio show.
Oh, that! Radio!
Yeah.
Just popped in there.
And is there a way we can do something like that?
I couldn't help it.
By injection inside or
Yeah, I think so, because I think just paint in general, because I think like my poem is in my painting.
No, cut.